The Durango is the past, the Traverse is the future. We're gonna figure out which path we should take. I'll include a link to the Sky Chevy and the Sky Dodge's websites in the description down below, providing us with both of these vehicles. Let's get right into the comparison. The Durango's 5.7 liter V8 goes through an 8-speed automatic, and it produces 360 horsepower, 390 pound-feet of torque. Fuel economy is 14 around town, 21 on the highway. The Traverse has a turbo 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed automatic. It produces 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque. Fuel economy is 20 around town, 24 on the highway. If you're looking for a review on a car, I've probably reviewed it. I have over 11,000 videos on this channel, so if you want to stay up to date with everything, just make sure you subscribe. The Durango is all about aggression with the design. I mean, look at all of the hood vents. No fog lights with it, but it does have parking sensors, which is nice. The Traverse is also pretty aggressive with this RS package. I'm actually not seeing any fog lights with that either. You got a split light design with the headlights below. Big blacked out grille. It's very interesting to see both of these together because it actually makes the Traverse look more aggressive than I initially thought it would look. So with the Dodge, it's 265 by 50 by 20 for the tire and wheel setup. With the Traverse, it's 275 by 45 by 22, so yeah, larger wheels. It's going to be somewhat difficult to get a true side profile of the Durango, but everything is paint matched, which does make it look a bit more premium. The Traverse also paints everything, but it is contrasted with black. Still looks good. Now the seats are manual with the raise and lower function. The Durango, they fold down flat. You have a 12 volt here in the back. And you have a decent amount of storage behind the third row. We'll have to kind of compare that with the Traverse. A little bit of storage underneath there too. And this is always interesting with the Dodge. You've got the button to lower the hatch down there. Now the seats are power up and down for the third row on the Traverse, so a little bit more of a nice feature there. Folds down flat, and then you do have more space. The Traverse is slightly longer than the Durango, so yeah, it makes sense why you're gonna have more space behind the third row. And then we do have, yeah, bigger storage bin underneath too. So the Traverse is more practical that way. The Durango's got that big old light bar. Towing capacity in the Durango's impressive. It's 7,400 pounds. The Traverse is no slouch. You can still tow about 5,000 pounds, but you're gonna be massively limited because 4-cylinder turbo. Now in the second row of the Durango, I've got a good leg room, got a little storage net there. Some vents, USB ports, heated seats, and outlet. And then the seats themselves are nice. You got the perforated trim all down the center. And then you can see the soft touch there on the door panel. And then we do have climate controls up top. Legroom in the third row of the Durango is actually pretty good for the segment, and the seat's a little bit higher so your knees have a nicer position. And they do give you some perforated trim on the seats, so it looks just as nice as the second row. Now in the back of the Traverse, we get good legroom, storage pocket, some cup holders, our own climate zone, heated seats too. And this one actually has captain chairs, which is a little bit different. The materials don't feel quite as, I don't know, high quality as in the Durango, but they still feel nice to the touch for the most part. Trim on the door panel. Good headroom in the Traverse. Now I thought the Traverse third row would be bigger than the Durango because I haven't done this comparison before, but yeah, it's actually a little bit more cramped with the foot space, but the knee height's good, and then the seat is perforated all down the center. Blind spot monitoring with the Durango. You got thicker glass up front. This is really nice with the trim. Automatic for the windows, memory seats. Payload, since we compared towing, 1,200 pounds of the Durango. Dodge logo there on the seats. Power adjustable, perforated. Getting in's easy. Seat's pretty comfortable too. So the cluster, partially analog, partially digital. It's kind of hard to see. Sorry, the sunlight is horrible right now. Last video of the day. But paddles on the back, got radio controls, adaptive cruise with this as well. Now, old school, so yeah, you just have a backup camera. The screen is pretty quick to respond. They do give you a ton of physical controls below for like heated ventilated seats, your climate, phone charging pad, got the shifter, couple cup holders, 4-wheel drive low, and then the console. Nice trim there on the top. And then we do have a regular, my finger slipped, regular sunroof. Blind spot monitoring with the Traverse. Again, you've got nice materials. It's just, touch them with your hands. I don't know, it doesn't feel quite as nice as what's in the Durango. Automatic for the front window, the mirrors power fold in, got memory seats. Yeah, the buttons feel more plasticky too. They're both plastic though, but 1483, it's an impressive payload. And then the seat, I see what the comfort's like. Chevy's kind of known for, yeah, the Durango seats are more comfortable. So, got that going. Full digital. Now here's the benefit of the Chevy, the big benefit of the Durango is the tech. This has Super Cruise. So it can drive for you on the highway. The Durango is just adaptive cruise. It's a lot more driver engagement. So this is a car that really, the biggest benefit is the driving tech like that. 360 camera too is another bit of tech that the Durango doesn't have. And then yeah, everything's built in the screen. The heated, cooled seats. The screen response time's good. But yeah, the climate's built in. You do have some physical controls below. Phone charging pad, got cup holders. There's some storage underneath the center console. A lot more storage up front compared to the Durango, because the Durango's kind of like old school style. But yeah, nice trim there. Camera rear view mirror, that's another piece of tech. No sunroof in this though, surprisingly. So the Durango's about 51K, the Traverse is about 59K. Let's take them out and drive them. So, Traverse first, and then we'll drive the Durango second. This really is past versus future. It's interesting to hear people's takes on one over the other, because, you know, I'll hear some people say something like, yeah, you know, they prefer the Durango because old school V8 and this and that. And then other people will be like, oh, the Traverse, it's more fuel efficient. Like someone said it's more fuel efficient around town. One thing I will say is the EPA numbers on turbos, sometimes they're accurate. When I test cars out, it seems like the turbo engines, I don't know. It's rare that I get the EPA numbers, especially around town. They're just all around. So, yeah, the Traverse is... And this is why the Traverse has such a lame engine, right? It's got good torque and everything, but we can all agree it's not an exciting powertrain. It's because what Chevy expects is that around town, you'll drive the car. And so it's a engine that's got good torque for that. It's fine, you know, 0 to 40 and all that. It does just fine. And then once you get onto the highway, the car will drive for you. So, you know, the interstate, accelerating, all that, that's when you usually really feel the engine of a car, because you're going from 0 to 60 at least. But yeah, with something like this, it's like, well, the car will just drive for you because of Super Cruise and everything. So it doesn't matter what it feels like, because you're not the one driving. So it's just a different take on what an automobile is. It's like, oh, we don't care about what the engine is. We don't really care about, like, it's comfortable. And that's what you notice is this has a much greater focus on just being comfortable rather than, you know, having super sharp handling or crazy driving dynamics or something like that. Because again, if the car's steering for you, all you really care about is how comfortable it is when the car's driving you. So it really is quite different. But yeah, that torque, it's good. You really got to wring the sucker out, but again, if you're willing to just sit back and relax a little bit and just ride the torque wave, you get up. You just don't get up at like the quickest pace on the planet. Yeah, 4-cylinder turbo in such a big vehicle, it's a very interesting choice. But again, it makes sense if you look at it from the perspective of they don't think you're gonna drive the car as much as you would drive a car in the past. Suspension's pretty comfortable on this too. I think they did a good job. It's better than much better than the Explorer. The Explorer in this segment is probably the worst with the suspension comfort. It handles well, but it's too harsh. So let's go pop into that Durango. So I had a quick conversation with the sales manager at the Chevy store as I was dropping off the, I don't know if he wants to be named or not, so that's why I never bring up people's names, because a lot of people like to keep a low profile when it comes to social media. Anyways, as I was dropping off the Traverse keys, and I looked up the Traverse sales figures. The Traverse last year still outsold the Durango, even though the Durango is having a generational run, like it's selling better than it's ever sold. It's still not selling as many as the Traverse, it's still not selling as many as the Explorer. Here's what I think the split is. I think about 2/3 of people want basically what the Traverse offers, where it's got enough power and tons of tech and basically drives itself for you. And so, yeah, it's just a good modern car. And then about 1/3 of people, the Durango's appealing because NAV8, so, you know, reliability that's associated with that, and that you actually get to feel the car, right? Because it's got this loud, rumbly engine, and it doesn't have all of the tech, and so you're having to actually pilot the car more so. And it's got some tech, you know what I mean? It's not techless, but you know, you're steering the car, you're doing the acceleration, all of that. And around town, you know, the Traverse isn't going to be driving itself at this point, but that's coming. Love that engine sound. I don't think it's that much faster than the Traverse. I think the acceleration's definitely quicker, but it's not like a night and day difference. The biggest thing is just the power delivery. So I do think it's going to come down to personal taste at the end of the day. What you're looking for out of the car. And I guess I do want to quickly finish with the fuel economy thing, because this, like I said, enough people brought that up. Like I said, EPA numbers, those aren't always accurate. And then also reliability. This engine's not perfect, but naturally aspirated engines will always be more reliable than turbo engines. That's just how things work. Smaller displacement, more power, all of that kind of stuff. It's going to put more stress on all the components. So it's like you're going to get, okay, let's say the EPA figure is correct, 6 miles per gallon better around town. But what if you have to replace your engine at 50,000 miles or 100? Actually, you got the powertrain warranty. So let's say you have to replace, let's say that 100,000 miles, this has same engine the whole time. And let's say the Traverse, because it's a little turbo engine, has some sort of problem. Boom, engine blows up. Did you actually save money? Yeah, you might have saved a little bit of money at the pump. So I do think that's something else that people are considering, right? It's not just about the fuel economy. It's also about and that's something I think about. It's also about the reliability. Like, yeah, I might save a couple bucks here, but then if I have to replace a modern engine these modern engines aren't cheap. You know what I mean? Like if you have to replace a modern turbo engine, I mean, oftentimes it's 10,000, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the engine. Like those new Tundra V6s that have been blown up, I mean, those are like almost 30 grand for the engine. So it's just something else to consider. It just depends on how long you keep the vehicle for, but that's also why warranties exist, right? So let me know which one you'd pick.